Hi, everyone, and welcome to the WriteHer podcast, a series where we chat about all topics and also go over some tips and best practices for short and long form writing, PR, and all things communication. As always, I'm your host, Jillian Brander, content creator, social media specialist, and like I said, host of this podcast. And I'm so happy to be here with you, Kathy. Woo! Thanks so much
Yes,
for joining me. Go ahead.
I'm Kathy Douglas, and I'm a public relations writer and editor based in Santa Ana, but most of my clients are in nonprofit, higher education, and healthcare.
Yes, we were just talking, and we'll probably make another episode on it about, clients and, the end of the year. So today we're going to be talking about decluttering, minimalism, and bringing yourself peace. So thanks so much for joining me, Kathy. I'm so excited to talk about this. So tell us a little bit about how you've been sort of practicing minimalism. I am a maximalist, clearly. So I struggle with the decluttering and also just getting in a clear head to maybe write or, create some headlines. So how's it going for you?
Well, I would never consider myself a minimalist because I'm very sentimental. So my house is not professionally decorated, but it has lots and lots of family photos, and I find it very hard to throw away things that were given to me or things that have been passed down in the family. So I struggle all the time with getting rid of clutter because we do have a relatively small home, uh, and uh, and trying to be to know what to save and what to give away. I have 3 kids, so I'm cognizant of what do I save for them? What would they like to have? I had a long conversation recently with a friend about family photographs, and
Mhm.
I was given over the holidays some old family photographs from, this would have been my grandfather's family when he was a little boy.
Oh, wow.
Um, and I really enjoyed seeing them. But as I'm looking at this photo, I'm thinking, how can I save it so that it's not going to take up a lot of space? Um, I want to make sure that I identify everyone in the photo. And what I'm thinking is the best way to handle family photographs like that, the ancient ones, will be for me to photograph them and put them in a digital album
Mhm.
with identification. And then when my kids, or if my kids ever want to resource that, it will be in a digital format. Um, so I can get rid of the boxes and boxes of these old family photographs that I really don't have room for, but I can't bear to throw away. So
Mhm.
just this summer, my mom's house sold. It's her old townhouse where she and my dad retired. My oldest son had been living there with his wife, and they finally decided to buy their own home. And when they moved, it was up to me to kind of go into this townhouse and clean it up and work with a real estate agent. And just before Christmas, it sold. Mom's thrilled because it was one less thing to worry about for her. But what surprised me was when I went into the garage, I had forgotten that when we did the big downsizing several years ago, when she moved into a retirement community, we had very carefully sealed up about 25 bankers boxes full of her memorabilia. A lot of it is labeled, this box goes to Emma, my daughter, or this is a quilt that goes to Sean, my middle son, or this is the Christmas china that I saved for Ben, the oldest son. But all of them are very carefully labeled. They're all sealed, but there were about 25 or 30 of them. And I looked at these boxes and I thought, great for mom for labeling them and sealing them. but what the heck am I going to do with these 25 boxes? I mean, I
Right.
have three kids of my own. I've had this career where I've generated lots of paper samples and,
Mhm.
things like that. I'm trying to downsize, and then all of a sudden I've got these 25 boxes, and I had to rent a storage unit. I've been fighting it my entire life. I feel like it's a black hole that you pour
Mm,
money into. So my goal with this year has been, even if it's just a box a week, I
mm,
have got to go through the spare room, I've got to go through the garage, and I've got to go through that storage unit and get rid of it, because my goal is to minimize as much as possible. And with that, open up space in our house so that we can actually live. We have a spare room now because both boys are gone. But
mhm.
it's like a black hole. It's like, yeah, I never had a spare room. So now, uh, that's my craft room and my, Christmas wrapping room. And it's,
Mhm.
God forbid if we have house guests, they have to stay amid all that clutter. So I got to thinking about the new year, and like I said, I'm not a minimalist, but I love the idea of decluttering. I like the idea of thanking an item for its service and then passing it along to someone who can actually appreciate it. That's part of Marie Kondo's
Yes.
the art of tidying up thing. I don't buy into all of her stuff,
Mm,
but I do like that idea of, you can gratefully pass something on and know that the next person needs it,
mhm.
rather than hanging on to it because somebody
Right.
gave it to you, or you think that you could use it someday. um, I was talking about some things with dinner, at dinner with my husband. If you're a child of the depression like I am,
Mm,
I grew up with a mom who never wasted anything. So you saved everything just in case you need it. And I'm having to learn to let go of things. And I'm, a woman of a certain age, and I still have my mother's voice in my head.
mm.
Gotta get rid, like, I'm an adult now. I can let go of that voice and let go of these things that I've been saving just in case I might need them.
Mhm.
You know, so I think it's a never ending battle against clutter and things, but as I grow older, the older that I get, the more I want experiences rather than things. So I would much rather, for instance, have, our kids have given us a lot of really cool gifts over the years. Like, I unearthed one when I was decluttering. It was a spa day that our daughter-in-law had given me, and
Oh.
I'd completely forgotten about it because, and then the pandemic came.
Mhm.
So I called and made an appointment, and I'm going to have this day of beauty just for me. I'm going to get
Yeah.
a massage and a facial, and I never do those things. So that's a good example of something that I think I will really treasure. That it isn't a thing.
Right.
So I've been trying to really concentrate on, uh, let's meet friends for coffee, or let's, meet for a walk on the beach. A lot of friends now that I have lost touch with, I'm trying to get uh, back in touch and trying to do things that aren't food involved, because I'm
Um,
really trying to watch that.
uh,
So, meeting for coffee, or let's go for a walk. And
mm.
those things have been really neat. I'm getting a lot more experiences and a lot fewer things. So,
Right. Man, we are so similar. This is so funny how the world has brought us together, like different places in our lives, but I totally am there with you. I did the Marie Kondo thing once. And I love the idea too of being able to thank something and then give it away. I'm on the receiving end right now of all my childhood toys. That is so funny and like deja vu how you're like trying to disperse things to your kids while my dad was doing the same thing over the holidays. So now I have this big bag
Yes.
of stuffed animals from my childhood that I almost cry every time I look at, but they're taking up so much room. I have so much art. I mean, there's so many like intricate, weird, abstract things in my apartment that, yeah, guests coming over, I'd be like, yeah, to go ahead, just everything's good. But yeah, to a certain point, it's also, like not about the stuff. It's about time, and I think time rather than stuff is so much more valuable than
Right,
any
right.
type
And
of.
that's,
Yeah.
that's a great point.
Mhm.
In trying to get this spare room under control, it's my wish that it be kind of a hybrid guest room, so enough room so that our son and his girlfriend or whomever could come and visit, but also a functional craft room so that I'll have storage for crafty type things, um, and enough room to move around and manipulate whatever tabletops I need, or move around furniture as needed. So I've been
Mhm.
kind of looking at some of these.
Get
I'm
immersed.
not a decorator by any means, but I've been looking at some of the HGTV, the shows that are more about, like, there's one called Makeover by Monday that's just like
Mhm.
a 3-day, here's some things that you can do just with one room.
Mhm.
So really kind of, I'm not in at the point where I can hire a decorator and like redo things, but I'm thinking if I could just get this one room under control and get it functional, it will free up exactly what you said. It will free up time because I won't be looking for stuff. I won't be wading through a bunch of junk. Um,
Mhm.
it will free up time and energy in a very positive space. And that's what I'm looking for.
Right. I always think, how how do you when I walk into a room, because I have so many tools that my wife has from her father, that these are big tools, Kathy. I don't know where we're going to use these tools, but she's been really great in helping me like add new curtains because I didn't like the apartment, look. So it's absolutely the little things like that are, I mean, it's like baby steps before, because you have to, the thing is, in order to clean it and declutter, you have to take everything out. And that part is really
Right.
stressful for me. Is like
Yes.
the explosion that happens while you're trying to declutter. But I always think, in terms of a room and how I love redecorating. I love it. But I like so many things too. So it's hard. I want to put everything on my wall. And I
Right.
think
Right.
when I walk into a room, I always say, how do I want to feel when I walk in?
Right. Right.
Like very, like I have a friend who is super minimalistic in her nature. And
Mhm.
the way that she lives, I'm really jealous of, because it seems so peaceful. It
Yes.
seems like she knows where everything is.
Right. Right. Well, I think, you know, I did appreciate the Marie Kondo approach, but
Mhm.
there were some things I thought were impractical. Like, for me,
Yeah.
it is much more doable for me to think in terms of, like I was saying before, one box a week, or
Mhm.
I'm going to declutter my office, this little corner of my office today.
Mhm.
That's doable. And it's something that I know at the end of the day, I can look and say, yes, I was successful. And it's a smaller task that I can fit into my day that has a lot of other demanding deadlines. I know for me, I will not get every piece of clothing in the entire house and put it on my bed and then go through every single piece of clothing. To me, it's not practical. So I've tried to take a lot of her approach and then pare it down to the ways that I can use it, you know.
Yeah. I'm this
And
yeah.
I'm like you, I enjoy minimalism in other people, but I know for me, I like having things that remind me of my family and comfortable things. And, I like the idea of decluttering rather than minimalism. And one of the things we wanted to talk about was the spiritual connection with all these things. There's a lot to be said for the spirit of decluttering your mind and your calendar and your life and your responsibilities, and with that, really emphasizing the things that mean the most to you.
Mhm.
And so I've kind of looked at this new calendar year as decluttering all those things as well as just the physical uh, aspects of the home.
So true, right. Like it's not just about the papers or the boxes or the space. It's if you give yourself goals like that, I mean, I'm gonna start cleaning my desk tomorrow. It's and you know, being able to be closer to a sense of peace and God is so important in a sense of who you are to yourself, right? And sometimes I feel like, when I'm really overwhelmed, I start thinking of those big projects and then it's harder for me to explain things. It's, my attention span is I'm overwhelmed. So yeah, I like what you're saying about how this year I'm let's do it together. This year I'm going to also think how I would like to hone in on my inner peace through going through, and it's bit by bit, building by by
Yeah, for
removing, I
me,
guess.
the idea of the baby steps is so much more practical because it allows you to make decluttering and kind of that reorganization part of your everyday life rather than this is a weekend. I'm going to take this weekend and I'm going to go through everything and just get rid of stuff. To me, that's when it all comes back. Is if
Right.
rather than if you're making it a daily kind of practice, I'm going to keep organizing. That's what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep organizing. I'm going to try to relinquish what isn't being useful
Mhm.
and make it that a lifestyle rather than trying to get it done in one fell swoop. Because to me, when I've done that, it always comes back. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. It could be I'm going to balance my checkbook to the penny and I'm going to do it every single month. Well, then when I stop doing it, then
Right.
there's this cyclone of guilt.
Mhm.
And, I need to find a happy balance of, um, reorganizing constantly rather than, one big fell swoop.
Yeah, and I think too, it's a lot for me. What helps me is like my mentality, you know, and definitely agree with you. Those big projects can be very haunting, and then you feel really bad. Or I'm like, oh my gosh, I really, now I have all these clothes on the bed, and so yeah, I guess
Right.
sort of like not only decluttering, cleaning out things, but in a way like progressively building your, I guess, self efficacy, your ability to continue doing it, or self confidence.
Right.
So, I mean,
Well,
20.
you just hit on something that's really important, I think. And that's whenever I get overwhelmed,
Mhm.
it's because I'm looking at the whole project or I'm looking at the big picture. When I start to get real with myself and I break it down task by task and I put different tasks on the calendar, maybe on Basecamp or what have you,
Yeah, love
the
base.
Google Calendar, one by one, and I just chip away at it, I get it done. but it's when I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, and I'm looking at the whole thing and thinking, I can never do this.
Mhm.
And it's probably true. You can never do all of it. But if you break it down into chunks and you start ahead of time, you can chip away at it. And it's I think I learned that from my husband because he's much more of a he was an academician, so uh on the first day of school he would start reading the textbook.
Mhm.
No, I never did that. I was the journalist, so of course, I waited till deadline and then started writing, you know. Um, and so I've tried to incorporate some of his suggestions about you wouldn't feel so overwhelmed if you started earlier, if you broke things down and you just keep chipping away at it and you just do what you can in a day. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this reorganization, home improvement, decluttering issue is I'm going to make it part of my life and I'm going to
Mhm.
do it a little at a time rather than I know myself. I'm not going to change, completely to somebody who's a minimalist. But I do think that I can improve in terms of getting rid of things and I love the idea of other people finding use for the things that I don't need anymore.
Mm.
It's not that they're no good, it's just that I don't need them anymore. So somebody else probably can, you know.
Right. And I think, the idea of regifting, I feel like gets a lot of hate, honestly, because I will make my friends things and I love that. I love it when someone not like I don't want this thing, here, take
Right.
but more like, like I'll have a mason jar or, something that I don't need. So I'll make a vase and I'll like make it really nice with a ribbon and give that to my friend. Or, like things like that. I feel like because it's like killing two birds with one stone. Like you know, get to pass along something great, but hopefully they're not looking to clear out. But in a sense too, just that passing along of a book or anything that you think someone else, like you're saying, could definitely find value. I think people are definitely going to relate to this podcast because 2023, can you believe it, it's here. That sounds
Right.
strange to say, 2023, oh man.
Yes. I had a friend point out the other day that it was 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3 or something like that. I mean, you can
Oh
really
yeah.
play a lot with numbers when in January when it's one, like 12323 or,
And 20
you
one
know,
one a January 23rd, yeah, 1 dash slash 23. Oh, dyslexic
yeah.
person's
So
nightmare.
no, uh, yeah, my mom is funny, she's 91, so she's always trying to relinquish things, give things away. But she'll look at me and she'll say, I never thought I would live this long. I didn't think I would be this old. I never thought I would be this old. And I appreciate that. I appreciate what
Yeah,
she's saying because when you think about the human body, our
right.
I've already had two knees replaced,
Mm,
and my husband's looking at two shoulders being replaced. And I told her mom, I said, you're 91, but your body was built to last like 40 years. I mean,
right.
human beings were like our parts are
I know.
not not designed for that long a time. So
But I mean, she's so I love it hearing about her and it's such an inspiration. She's like, I didn't think I'd live this long. So
yeah,
oh,
she's well, yesterday we went to the hearing aid specialist. And because I noticed that since she had her stroke in October, she's really lost a lot of hearing.
mm,
So I was anticipating that the woman would look at me and just say, well, your mother's she's like stone deaf. There's nothing I can do. Well, it turned out that she had wax in her ears, and she had so much wax in her ears that it got in the hearing aids. So the woman cleans out her ears and she cleans the hearing aids, and my mom's like, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh man. Yeah, that's it.
So I mean, I was like, thank God. It was like no money, no cost, and total success. So
Talk about
it was
decluttering.
the best that you could have hoped for. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so wild. Sometimes you have to declutter the ears, like sometimes lots of stuff.
exactly.
My dad's the same way, so I'm like, "Dad, we need to declutter the top attic area," and he's like, "Okay." But I think our listeners are definitely going to get some inspiration, maybe find some thing that they can pass along. But
Good.
anything else are there any other websites you'd like to plug for decluttering other than ours?
Well, I've written a couple stories about it. One of the stories that I wrote for the San Diego Union Tribune was on spirituality and minimalism.
Yeah.
And I'm fascinated by this concept, like we've been talking about how decluttering the mind and meditation. Meditation is such a buzzword nowadays,
Mhm.
and for busy people, meditation is really hard because we have the monkey mind that always is, what's
Right.
next, what's next. Um, but I'm finding that the meditation and the spirituality of kind of simplifying life, whether that means getting rid of extra things or decluttering the mind, it all kind of goes together. And I'm finding it much easier to meditate on the days when I am very calm and just, like I said, chipping away at projects one thing at a time, not trying to bite off more than I can chew, that kind of thing. Another thing we didn't really touch on is eliminating negativity from your life.
Yes.
I've been a big advocate for that since I went out on my own. I identified some people in my life I was struggling to maintain these relationships with people,
Mm.
only to realize that whenever I got together with them, I was so bummed out at the end and thinking like, it took me so long to like make an appointment with this person, and I've
Mm.
worked so hard at this relationship, but it's really just bumming me out. Like
Oh,
there's no reason
yeah.
to keep that relationship, to work so hard at
Right.
that relationship. Um, so it's tougher with people because a lot of times you can't get rid of people, but you
Right.
can minimize the idea of negativity in your life.
That is so great. I mean, I'm so excited for people to read your blog too, and a lot of great references to what you could do. Um, like you're saying, pick up your favorite drink, and like you're saying, take it one piece at a time. I meditate to fall asleep. My wife, she got me these it's like a head thing that has like earphones in it.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so it's really great that you can sleep with it, and it gives you you can hear meditations and you can connect your phone. So I think I think 2023 is going to be an excellent year for us, for writing,
Yes.
for Kathy Douglas Communications Inc. And I'm so excited for our next. We're just keeping going, and every month there's a new podcast. So for those of you listening, for those of you watching, tune in. Conversation just gets
Yes.
better with each time. I mean, who wouldn't want to tune in and watch us? I don't know. Well, for those of you listening, thanks for tuning in, and be sure to follow along on social media and visit kathydouglas.com for all your PR, communications, and editing tips. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.